Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome to today's video. Today kind of what my goal is, I really want to try to get the idle in this car a little bit better, see if I can do that and get it to run a little bit better as far as the air-fuel ratio in the car goes. Because if you saw in the last video, the car was idling really high. Like I said, I think I mentioned like 1500 to 1700 RPM, which is about 1,000 too high. So in my mind what that says is there's a vacuum leak. And whenever you look in here, as you can probably tell, I've got some that's just taped off as far as known vacuum leaks, which I really want to replace with some of this stuff. So I went to the parts store, picked up just a variety of random rubber caps to plug off vacuum lines, and then this one here, a little adapter, because I know there's some that are like different sized kind of fittings where it's like one starts off as one size and then moves to another. So that might come in handy. I'm not 100% sure really if I'm going to need that. But one of the other things I also got here is a universal choke kit. Because on here, like I think you all saw in the last video, the chokes, they work, but the cables themselves don't. They're pretty well just seized up into nothing. So what I have to do is try to rig up just a kind of a DIY choke cable system. I might end up going back and getting a second cable and then just kind of running two cables to pull whenever I want to run the chokes, similar to how the factory does it. Or I might try to see if I can build a kind of a little bracket or something that'll work, so that way I can have an actual choke that works. The other thing I did pick up while I was at the parts store is right here. These aren't for the Datsun, but I did get some new brake pads for the BRZ, because one of the things I have known since I purchased that car is that the front pads are pretty low. Obviously, they're nothing too crazy. They're just standard ceramic brake pads. They're not going to be anything that I'm taking on a racetrack, because ultimately I'm not taking the Subaru on a racetrack. An autocross here or there, but I can't imagine that these are going to fade out. On the initial autocross run, it runs like 40 seconds to a minute 30 seconds, so I don't think they'll do too bad, and it'll give me a little bit extra peace of mind in there. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and start popping these open, start plugging off the ones that I've got taped off, and then the ones that I need to actually have plugged into the air cleaner here. Obviously get those plugged back into the ones that need, I guess, air flow or a reference to atmosphere. Do that, and also just cap off all the other little ones that I don't really need anything for. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and get started on. So I'm going to go ahead and get working on it. Okay, so what I've done in here is I've just plugged off all of the vacuum ports that I had coming off the balance tube, and I've thrown on the back side of the air cleaner back onto here. There are still a couple of things that need to get sorted. One of them is this right here. This is coming off the valve cover up there, and it's just going to let oil kind of blow through. It's really old and really hard, and it needs to get replaced. But what I don't really like about it is that it's supposed to just go right down onto this port, which obviously feeds through and just dumps oil into the back carburetor, which in my mind is going to just gum up the rear carburetor even faster. So what I want to do is I want to kind of tie that in, and then down here, actually, I'll get my phone out to show you this. Okay, you see that? If you can see that port down there, that's also coming out of the crankcase, and that's just going to be letting oil kind of into the engine bay just from the engine. And here is actually that line as well. So let me get it into the light. As you can see, this is pretty old, and obviously this one's a lot larger than this hole, but this tube is just rock hard and cracked and destroyed, so it's really not going to do any good to anybody at this point. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is try to put together a catch can setup to run on those two, just so that way I can catch the oil and reclaim it, not put it back into the motor, but just not have it dumped into the intake and gum up the carburetors. And what I'm going to try to do, probably won't be a today thing, but try to work it in, because I do have these little threaded inserts on the radiator shroud here, I might be able to kind of put together a little convenient can setup right there where it runs through here to the can, and then from up here, I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to route it to get it over here, but I would like to get those two like that on there. So that's what I'm going to do regarding that. But for right now, since I've got these plugged up and I've got this back on, what I want to do is get the car running, get it going for a drive. It's a little cold, so sorry if I'm a little choppy on my talking. But get it out, get it warmed up, and then have another stab at trying to get it tuned up properly and see if I can get that kind of a lean mixture sorted, because I did find on here, just in kind of going back through the Haynes manual that I've got with the car, I was mistaking the fast idle, or no, I'm sorry, that's the throttle speed screw with the balance screw, which is actually down here on the rear carburetor. So I had it a little bit backwards as far as my understanding of it. So I should have a better chance at getting it tuned up properly. And yeah, so what I'll do, I'm going to go get it warmed up, come back, and then try to see if I can get you set up, kind of so you can see what's going on with the tuning process on it and get it ready to go. Can't really make a promise on how well it's going to go, but we'll find out. So first things first, get the car running, warmed up, and report back. Okay, so back from the test drive, car's warmed up. As you can hear and as you can see, it's idling a bit too high. It's idling about 1500 RPM. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is just kind of follow the guide listed out here in the manual for adjusting these carburetors, because these are the less desirable, the flat top style carburetors. So I've got to adjust it according to that spec. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to start just going through here. I might see if there's a spot I can get you set up so you can kind of see what I'm doing, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to. But nonetheless, I'm going to go ahead and get working on this. So, as you can probably hear, it's a little bit quieter than it was. I'm going to kind of give you the rundown on what I did real quick, and then what I'm going to do next is go and take it out for another drive, see if it feels any different, because it kind of felt a little bit like it was a little bit short on power just on the drive out there, or on the drive warming it up, compared to how I'm hoping it feels better now. But here's basically what I did, kind of the rundown on adjusting these. So the first things you do is let me grab the screwdriver. You unscrew, you unscrew this right here, so that way it's free right there, so there's a little bit of free play in that. And then you're also going to unscrew this one. This one is the balance screw. That's what's going to control the back carburetor right here, as far as how much air it gets in it and how quickly. So I unscrewed those first, and then what I did is up here, this is the idle setting screw. So I unscrewed that one until it was idling. I don't have a timing light on with a tack on it. That's ideally the way that you want to check this, but I just had to go off the gauge, so it's probably not perfectly adjusted, but hopefully it's a little bit better. Nonetheless, got down idling down to about 650, 700, somewhere in there as far as RPM, according to the manual. And then from there, what it has you do is it has you play with the mixture screw, which is right here. And what it tells you to do is find the point where, if you're messing with that, the highest idling point, so where I assume it's getting the most amount of fuel, or the proper amount of fuel, where it's not bogging down and it's not running out of fuel. So you find that highest point, and then the discrepancy between what the manual says and what I'm seeing here, it says once you get to that point where it's idling the highest, you're supposed to unscrew, it says to unscrew this, so basically to let more air back into the idle circuit, so letting more air into the engine, and then the rev should come down. I don't know why that's supposed to happen, but that's what it was suggesting, but I couldn't get it to idle down, so it just stayed there at that point. So I left it there kind of as is. And then what I do next? Oh, and then from there, so from what I did next, is I screwed down the fast idle screw to 1400 RPM, according to this, And then from there, I used this little flow meter right here. It's called a Unison. You'll need one of these. And then what you do is you measure it up against, let me see if I can do this with one hand, measure it against the carb, and you can see how it picks them up. Now you're supposed to adjust it with it at 1400 RPM, not back down to 1000. So that's what you'll do to set the balance according to, so that they're equal. And that's what you use the balance screw back here for. So you're setting the rear carb to the front carb. So then once I had that done, they're both adjusted properly. What I did is I unscrewed this again, so basically letting it go back down to the idle circuit. So unscrew it, and it said they want like a 2mm gap in between here. I think I'm at about a 1. I don't know if it's really going to make a difference. I guess I'll kind of find out as I go. But so far, that's all I've had to do to tune the carburetors. I thought I was going to have to disconnect both carburetors. That's not the case, so that's nice. Means I can kind of do this periodically as I want to try to adjust it and feel it out. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to get the fan out of the way. I had to pull the exhaust out of here, or at least try to. And I'm going to go take it for a test drive, see if it feels any different. And then from there, here, I'll probably walk this way, get it a little quieter. And then from there, what I'm going to do is let it cool down, check the spark plugs, maybe clean them off, and see if it's running any better. So once it cools down, I'll be able to clean them up again, start it again, and find out. But that's what's next on the agenda. So I'm going to go ahead, get this out of the way, and go back for another test drive. Alright, so update. Drives a lot better having tuned up the carburetors, as I mentioned. It's still idling really well. It's still hanging around 1000. There is something, I've been driving around for about the last 40 minutes or so. Took a break in between, drove about another 20 minutes. It does have a little bit of rev hang at times, where it'll, like, if I'm coming down to a full stop, it'll just kind of hang around like 1600 RPM or so. We'll get a blip of the throttle, it clears out, and then it drops back down to about 1000. But it's driving a lot better, picked up a lot more power. I don't know, it's a little bit weird on the initial from a stop. Maybe it's the way the throttle is in this car and just kind of adjusting to it, but it's a little bit hesitant sometimes it's a little bit better. Hard to say for sure just because it's still, you know, pretty new to me as far as the car goes, but it is it's driving pretty well. Like I said, tuning it really helped pick up a lot of power back out. It actually, you know, can do speed. It'll pick up and go. Really doing a lot better. So I'm really pleased with the results of the tuning. So, you know, thank you for watching. I've still got more stuff I got to do with the car, like I mentioned. I've got to do the choke and everything like that, and try to get that kind of stuff taken care of. But for now, it's doing a lot better. But like I said, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, whichever. Sharing the video helps out a ton, so I can, you know, find people that like this stuff, give me more information to get this thing working better, and hopefully share that information back with you guys and girls, so that way everybody's cars run better and everybody, you know, gets to experience stuff like this. So thank you for watching. Take it easy and stay safe.